Actress, thank you so much. So, hi everyone, I'm Gia from the Grant Support Squad. Sino is also around, he's helping me sharing the screen. And we wanted to open this session basically to imagine what a community building category would look like for the grants program. And we wanted to hear like all of your ideas. And I mean, we have been thinking about a few things for the framework, but we also wanted to open this space and discuss it with you all because in the end, like you are the community builders here. So if you can go to the next slide, Sino, please. So, basically, we have been analyzing the second quarter from this year. And this was important for us because it was the first quarter where the 3 months were open for people to apply for grants. So after analyzing this second quarter, we saw that there were grants proposals that could fit into two or more categories. And on another hand, there were great projects that were not addressed by our program so far. Then you can go to the next one. So the context here, we wanted to bring examples and share examples with you. One is the type of grant that aims to onboard new members to Decentraland for very specific target audiences. We had a case, you maybe heard about it, about DCL Brazil, which was super valuable for the community, basically because what they were doing is onboarding new members, building like spaces for them to share their knowledge and to gather and so on. And then on the other hand, we have also valuable DAO members that make community building experiences and events like ABC Decentraland, as like just to cite an example, who share also knowledge with newcomers and ignite interactions among Decentraland users and DAO members. I'm seeing that our job is around here, like for example, the work that they do in the ecosystem is also amazing. So we are thinking about those target audiences. Hello. And then on the other hand, in the near past, the community has voted yes for a poll that aimed to create an ambassadors program within the principal objective of empowering community members. We don't know very well what happened with that poll, but we thought that the spirit was super aligned with what we are trying to build from the grants program, and we thought that also that like that yes from the community meant something to us too. Um, so the finding here is that we could create a DAO governance proposal to add the community building category with the spirit of empowering community members, and in partnership with the facilitation squad, define these requirements and performance metrics and redistribute the percentages of the allocation of the grants program budgeting system. So that's exactly what brings us here. You can go to the next one. This, exactly. So what we are going to do is to pose here, to pose a few questions that we have. And we have also started like answering these questions. And here is where we want also for you to open your microphones and let us know what you think. So question number one is like, what would a community building grants fund? And we were thinking of three cases. One is in-world exploration, so building specific events to explore wonderful experiences of Decentraland. We're talking here about things that happen either in Genesis City or in different games, or things that happen in-world. Then on another hand, also increasing engagement, so how they could contribute to increase time on scenes or returning users. And also organize gatherings, which would be to produce meetups for community building. For this question, now I want to shut up and hear you all in case you have reactions to either the question or the potential cases that we are thinking about. Yes.
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Um, well, I have so many thoughts, but I'll try to be very brief. In world exploration, we have something, and I think you put ABC Decentraland. I think perhaps you meant CBD. There's a lot of letters, but CBD is Community Building Decentraland. That's the Discord server that we have the FAFO sessions, and we have it's basically the group of groups where we try to connect people to resources. So that's CBD. But
Yes, that's exactly it.
yeah,
I'm so
okay,
sorry. That was
yeah,
my.
no, that's fine. Like I said, there's a lot of letters, alphabet soup. It's easy to confuse. But in terms of in-world exploration, one of the early, um, I guess, tasks that we had decided to develop was something called the buddy system. And then we had in in um, in that same vein of increasing engagement, I've got this side project that I work on whenever I'm not working on anything else called Giving Tree, which is basically spending time with the new user in sort of a mentor-mentee relationship. And then as an educator, I know it's important not to just regurgitate knowledge out to a person, but they need to be able to demonstrate their understanding. So when a new user can demonstrate that understanding, this is the increased engagement. When they can show that they've learned how to transfer an item from their wallet to somebody else, or when they've shown that they know how to, even something as simple as changing their outfit or using the WASD keys, that we would provide them with with some type of reward. And for the Giving Tree, we've just been accepting donations from people, different wearables and emotes, other collectibles, to then distribute to people. There's over 2,000 items that we've got in the wallet now. And then, yeah, for organized gatherings, I mean, there's any number of events that already happen in Decentraland right now. It would be very simple to just bootstrap off of that and have some of these that are designed specifically for new users. I think an important component that would be underlying this, that is not inherent, explicit here, but could be inherent, is having some type of a referral system. And I know that it's something that's come out in at least one or two proposals in the DAO, but being able to track where these people are coming from so that we can have intelligent metrics of, okay, we focus a certain amount of resources in this one particular area for this age group or this demographic or this psychographic. And then, when they activate that wallet or they activate that account, then we can track that back to, oh, this was part of the fall 2023 campaign, the kickoff campaign, or whatever. So those are the thoughts that I have just initially. Thank you.
I love it. Thank you so much. Then I will add this as maybe community interactions, which goes, uh, or it can be like community interactions in the Decentraland ecosystem. And then I will put, to cite your example, what type of specific interactions, like for example, exchanging of wearables, you said?
Yeah, and that's just the idea that I had, because I would say
No,
the
I love it.
one
Yes.
it's the one thing that Decentraland has that is, other than mana, its own currency, right? I mean, it's hard for people to get land. They're not making any more land unless you talk to DCL Worlds, but it's like the one thing that travels easily inside Decentraland. What did we have? Something like 9,000 now collectibles in Decentraland, and there's always going to be more. And the new people, that's like the one area that people are lacking in knowledge. But once people begin to acquire collectibles, it's a self-reinforcing mechanism where as soon as I got my first wearable, I wanted to know, how to get more, how to get money, so that that incentivized me to go to MetaMask and learn how to navigate that. But then it got me down the road of how to be a creator and to produce my own wearables very early on. So I think wearables is, or collectibles like emotes too, is yeah. Anyway.
I love it. Thank you so much. A ver, Gino. Sino, can you please try to refresh? Maybe, and you might be able to see the changes. I'm loving
Uh,
this.
Give me a second.
Yep.
Here.
Slide 7. Yay. Okay, so community interaction, and it would be exchanging wearables, collectibles, emotes, among other stuff.
Yes,
I
I
love it.
think that in community interaction, there is a security problem on targeting the wallets. That's why it's not created that feature, but we can keep talking and keep in the loop regarding that.
Yes, the idea of also, of course, of this session is to get to know what is not featured in the Decentraland program, like the grants program now, that might be able to include in this very specific category. The next one. Next question is which requirements do we look for this category? So for the requirements, we were thinking that one good requirement for this category would be to have demonstrated commitment to community building within Decentraland. So to have a proven track record of organizing and facilitating community events, initiatives, or educational programs. And this might be, for example, someone from a team of 3 that has this experience, and the other 2 are building maybe on top of that. Like, there's no need for everyone to have that much experience in Decentraland, but it's always good to know that there is people out there that have been doing this, and what we want to do is like recognize the work that they are doing, and that they can continue do that. um, then the next one is define the criteria of relevant participation in community forums, social media groups, or other channels to provide support and guidance to community members. And this is again like part of what happened with, or what DCL Brazil was proposing, that was really interesting and super valuable. Then the other one that we thought is the proposal should include the development of resources, tutorials, or guides that help onboard and engage new community members. And the idea here is that we have things that are not just like that start and finish, but that also leave a precedent for others to build on that in the future. Then another thing that we thought is that the proposal should include how they will collaborate with other community builders, like for example core units or projects within Decentraland to foster cross-community partnerships. Because another thing that we have seen is that um, sometimes things happen in silos, and what we want to do is to start like making those cross-community things that add a lot of value. um, and that would be it. So I will then shut up so we can hear your thoughts on requirements.
Okay, I'll be very quick because I want to make sure other people have an opportunity. But basically, what Souse is typing over in the chat, I think, is super important too, and that is the component of meeting people in the physical, in real life, as it were. Sauce. I don't know how to pronounce it. But yeah, no, it's I've been to a couple of real world meetups, and yeah, there's just something that can dispel a lot of uncertainty, and I know that CK Bubbles, for one, is somebody who has met a lot of people in the physical realm and not just online. Present company included here, so that is that's something that's I think important to consider. And yeah, thank you.
That's great.
Actually,
We do have the category. Sorry, just to respond to that real quick. We do have the sponsorship category, which is the best one when we talk about real like real life meetups. So I think that if someone, for example, wants to, I don't know, make a gathering from Decentraland for a very specific event, they can go to that category. This is something different in terms of its thought for things that are um, longer term and that leave a precedent in terms of community building more than something that starts and finishes in one day. Um, so if you have ideas, of course, go to that sponsorship. But I don't think this is where it's going.
Oh, okay. I see it. I see it. Wow, that's crazy. I'm sorry. It's
Hi,
my
Chris.
first. Hey, hey, good afternoon, you all. It's like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm just waking up, so I'm sorry. Brain isn't moving. You guys can hear me, right?
Yes, we can, loud and clear, sir.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so just I'll make it quick. Thank you all for creating this category and preparing all this for everyone. I think it's really helpful, and I like the initiative that you all are doing, just giving creators and builders uh, a new opportunity to kind of branch and find ways to get support and be innovative. I just have one question. I know you all just spoke about it right now. Just want to kind of dive a little deeper inside just to make sure I understand. When you say the first one, demonstrated commitment to community building within the Decentraland, um, that means that you all are looking for people that have already you know have experience or contributed. And what if they don't? What if it's somebody new but they have an idea, um but they don't have that experience? Does that mean they automatically don't qualify, or it just means it'll be a plus if they do?
That's exactly why we are doing this session, because I like my real answer is I don't know which is best.
Okay.
I mean, what I would love to see is people with experience and new people building together a proposal.
Yeah.
Um, that's like my like the goal that I envision. But I really don't know. Maybe this shouldn't be a requirement, and that is fine too. That this is exactly why we are discussing this with you all.
Okay. Yeah.
Um,
I'm sorry. Okay. So yeah,
what do
I guess
you guys think? Like the
yeah.
rest,
So
maybe you can
yeah.
chat
So
about it.
I'll share my experience. There's this narrative we have in the Decentraland. I don't agree with it, but there's a narrative that people have and say you have to have experience, you have to join these spaces, you have to already be here before the community can approve that you can apply for a grant. That's one way of thinking. Like you have to already be in the ecosystem to to get these support. And I understand where they're coming from, because they want to make sure there's no bad actors. They want to make sure that you're applying and you really have good intentions. But I'm an entrepreneur. My background is in innovation, and because of what we're doing right now is still so new. It's in the infancy stage, and like it's really hard for somebody to say I've been in this industry for over 3, 4, 5 years. So everybody is new in this industry, and so I feel like if we give this requirement and say you have to be here already, I'm not saying it's bad, but I just think that it's going to limit, um, you know, new people with new ideas that could possibly contribute but don't have the means, the support, or the funds to contribute. So I would just, speaking on behalf of myself, I just wish that we don't, give that as a requirement that they have to have experience. I meet people all the time that have great ideas,
I
but
hear
you
you.
know,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes, yes,
So
I
that
think that's a perfect point, and maybe we can take
mhm,
it out like as a requirement, but maybe we can frame it as it is valued that. There is something that Lesos is saying in the chat, that is that the elephant in the room is that there is people that have been doing community building on their own, going and they are going to get compensated, no? So maybe if you already have that track record, people would just like, it would be a nice way of compensating for the great and like very meaningful work that they are doing, like onboarding people and so on. And I also think that exactly what you are saying in terms of we don't want to be a closed community that doesn't welcome like new people. That's exactly the opposite, no?
yeah.
So I think what we can do is just change that and not put it as a as a requirement,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
yes, as something that it's a nice to have. And in the
yeah.
end, if you have already been in the space for a while and in your work, like the work that you're doing is contributing to Decentraland, you in the end will get the votes. Well, hopefully, no.
Exactly. I
Um,
think people's talent will show, so it can just be like an extra, like a plus. If you come here, you have you've been doing well. People will see it and you'll be recognized. But I don't think we should limit this category to you have to have been here for a while. I think it limits us. So yeah, I agree 100%, Gia.
all right.
Thank,
Maybe we
thanks.
can go to the next question if someone else has any other reactions to requirements. If not, we can go to the next one. Excellent. And the next one would be measuring impact. So these are a few things that we have been thinking about. One is the number of community members engaged or impacted through community building initiatives. Then the next one is feedback and testimonials from community creators regarding the value and impact of their contributions, like, for example, landowners or wearable designers. And this comes with the community interactions that Ojob was mentioning before, no? Like these exchanging collectibles. Another one can be attendance and participation metrics in community events, workshops, or educational programs. Growth and activity metrics on the community platform, forums, or social media groups facilitated by the community builders, and number of successful cross-community collaborations or partnerships facilitated by community builders. When we talk about KPIs, most of the time we have different impact metrics per category, but not all the grants comply to all of them. I will give a brief example. One is social media content. So we do have inside our KPI matrix everything related like with different social media platforms, like, for example, I don't know, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, etc. But not all the grants have all the social media, but that doesn't mean that we don't have it like separate. So in this case, the idea would be to list ways of measuring impact, but that doesn't mean that all the grants must have all of them. So maybe you can think about others, or if there's something that you would like to add or delete to this list. I will turn off my microphone now so I can hear you. Well, in those cases, what happens is that's a tricky one. What we are doing now is during the onboarding, because before we didn't have onboardings that were comparing KPIs with category and what they are proposing on the proposal. But now that we do have KPIs based on the first, like with the change of the grants program, then today, when the onboarding is happening, we are talking about those KPIs. And so far, it hasn't happened that they don't comply, because the ones that are for 1 month are for very specific things. The scope and the roadmaps are super clear, and what we measure is for very specific things. Yes, Pablo. Hi, Pablo. Hi.
Keep on. Sorry, keep on. Was my fault. I pressed the button.
Oh,
That
you didn't want to talk?
No, I'm sorry.
It's okay, my friend. No worries. Pablo is also from our team. All right. I don't know, Nikki, if that answers your question, but basically, what we do is with very short grants, what we do is we discuss those in the onboarding and we check them in the onboarding too.
Yes, before Oxford,
Yeah.
I think that I can add something on what Sharacita said to respond on Nikki Fuego. Maybe what we could do is something like, okay, we will have this first onboarding process. During that, we can scale when will be the end of the grant and try to match that with the vesting contract. So that will give you a window to check their performance metrics, and if the performance metrics don't align with what the grantee propose, we could send the case to the revocations committee. In that case, for example, that is some way to mitigate, don't lose the money.
Yeah, really what's being discussed is what I'm most familiar with in education, and those are, standards-based education. So there would need to be a certain amount of standards. That's basically what are the educational units that we want to communicate. And without getting too deep into the weeds or too technical about something that I think should be joyful and fun, and that's new people discovering Decentraland. I think it's important that it gets spelled out so that there is no misunderstanding of a new user coming in. What are some of the things that they need to be able to do? And I think just a really quick survey of anybody that's been here for a year or 8 months or 6 months even. It's like, when did you consider yourself a successful user of Decentraland? That's just one example. So by developing standards, then you can expect that a new user could demonstrate that knowledge. And again, it doesn't have to be so super academic and technical. It can be fun. It can be a gamification of this learning. But when that person then demonstrates their understanding, it's what's called ownership of their learning, right? When somebody takes on, they go out and they try to learn new things on their own. It's basically understanding what the lexicon, what the vocabulary or the special words or terminology of Decentraland is. And I don't mean words in, just the verbal or the written sense, but, how people interact with one another. What's the social currency at a party in Decentraland? Once people begin to understand that, then they can take that lexicon and they can apply it to their own learning and their own understanding. So demonstrating that knowledge, and then basically you've deputized these people to go out and learn things on their own. I think that satisfies some of these. How are we going to measure this impact? So it's a dilemma, right? Because we want this to be open and free, but what I'm describing right now is gatekeeping. Right? There's a specific
I
amount
know,
of
yes.
knowledge, but it's like it doesn't have to be, well, if you don't get it from me, then you're SOL, you're out of luck. No, that's not the case at all. It's just by having emissaries of people, and it can definitely be informalized, right? It doesn't have to be so institutionalized and stodgy. It could just be it could be an idea, or a basis of ideas, or just a school of thought, so that anybody that encounters this person can be like, oh yeah, you've done a really good job hanging out in Decentraland. And that it will be, I think, like people will make that exclamation on their own. It's like, wow, I've learned so much, or whatever. And it's like, well, what have you learned? And then they can demonstrate that knowledge. And then you could have any number of people who we trust, through our person-to-person network, be granted the ability to give this person, I put in soulbound token. It doesn't have to be the full protocol as put up by Vitalik Buterin, but it could be something like what Last Slice has now, which is a token that just can't be transferred, right? It's not something that can be gained. So if I give it to a person to their wallet, they can't then farm that and sell it to somebody else. Once it's given to them, that's where it ends, right? So whatever, that has all other ramifications and whatnot, but like we have to start somewhere, right? So by having that, then you've got a way to measure that growth, because you just count the number of wallets that have that token of understanding about Decentraland.
Yeah, from the program perspective, the way that we want to measure impact is basically to understand how the program gives value to the Decentraland ecosystem as a whole. No, so what you are bringing is super valuable, because in the end, we don't want just to measure impact to know if one grant was impactful. No, because impact can be measured also like in any other way, like I don't know, like building, like having money for them to, for example, explore in the SDK. So then, with all that knowledge gained, can build other things, regardless if the grant was successful or not. Because the impact is beyond a very specific grant. So even though we do measure like on a grant-based impact, we are also thinking, when we're talking a new category, we are talking about how this category can contribute to the Decentraland ecosystem. Um, and from that, I think that what you're saying is super important. I don't know if someone else wants to add to measuring impact. I mean, the idea is to add or delete things that we have here that maybe doesn't make sense for us. Excellence. So, Sino, we can move to the next one. Thank you, my friend. And then about budget category. So if we are thinking about a community builders category, you also have to allocate budget for that. And what we were thinking is to match the core units percentage of budget category, which is 15%. And this comes from the fact that a little bit more than 43% of the budget wasn't used last Q. This comes from like a lot of reasons. One is like differences in category, another one revoked grants, among others. So what we were thinking is that 15% would be allocated to community building, and then the 27.5, which is the rest, would be redistributed among the other categories. Having a more percentage for the ones that were used the most and less percentage for the ones that weren't used the most. That is something that we are analyzing, and it's out of scope from this conversation. But we were thinking that 15% would be a good number for this. And then the next steps, we can go to the next one, would be then to incorporate all the insights that you have given us so far. Then we are going to have a peer review with the grant support squad and the facilitation squad teams with the final poll and the draft for a proposal. And then we will publish the poll for this community builders category by Wednesday, July 26th. So if you want to mark your calendars, go and do so. If not, we will also let you know on the town hall that same week. And we can also, chat activity. What confuses you, Nikki?
I think that what Nikki is trying to say is if the platform category will be delayed, but what we propose is to redistribute the percentage of the budget of each category.
Yes, no. Not, I mean, all the categories will be the same. We are not thinking of deleting any category. What we want to do is build a new one. So we will publish the poll by July 26th, and that is all from our side. So we can also, as we have a little bit more time, we can just open mics and hear your thoughts if there's any other point of discussion that you would like to bring.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was on mute. I'm sorry. Yeah, I found it. Just can you all hear me? Yeah, so I heard what Yarosita said. She's going to take 15%, I guess, from the platform category at some percentage and put it towards the community building, and maybe redistribute it towards um, the other categories. And I think that's really good. I voiced before, this past quarter was very, very. I just want to bring something to you all's attention. This past quarter was very, very, very intense. There's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes that you all don't know about. A lot of people contact us for support, and it's very, very unfortunate that a lot of projects didn't get funded this quarter. And because we're at this stage right now where we need growth, I just hope that Yarosita, you all can consider to increase the budget for in-world content, for example. And maybe this is what you're saying when you say that you're going to take from the platform category and put to others. But I hope that we can increase the in-world content, because I plan on submitting a proposal, a governance proposal to raise the category. So if we can all work together and we can just do it now, it'll be amazing. But if that's something you all do not want to do, then I will submit it separately. But I just feel like DCL Creations, for example, he's done a lot. He's done a lot, and it's very unfortunate that he can't get his support. And so they're and then they have to wait another quarter. And there's more. There's more projects like that. So I hope that you all can consider increasing the category budget. But if that's something you all don't want to do, then I will submit a proposal for it. I just hope we can all work to be aligned.
This is slightly out of the scope of this
Okay,
session,
no problem, no problem.
no.
If it is, no problem.
But
Yeah.
I love that you're bringing it, and I can give you our next steps toward that. So we cannot make changes on the budget categories still, because we want to see what happens with the builders category. So we are moving next week. We are publishing this poll, and after the poll, if everything goes well, then we will have the other two steps. Once the poll defines if the community wants a builder category or not, then we are going to start the process of budget changes. And that will be based on an analysis not only for a new community builders category, but we have revised like which are the categories that were in use, which are the categories that were used the most, and that's how we are redistributing all the budget. The thing is, if we start the poll of redistributing budget and then we are having a new community category, then that will mess all the work that we have done. So what we are doing is that we are going to first publish this poll, understand if Decentraland community wants a builders category or not. And if they do, then we start the poll for the budgeting system changes, which is the allocation of percentages. And it's not platform goes to community builders, it's like a whole change for every category based on what happened in the previous queue. And the idea is that, I mean, again, no, like nothing that we do is fixed. So it's all in movement based on the community needs, or because we are also waiting for the strategic planning and what is happening there, because we want the grants program to contribute to the strategic planning that the DAO has. So maybe today we have all this category, but maybe from a strategy perspective, the DAO wants to go somewhere else. So that will also affect the grants program, no? So I'm thinking, what I'm saying here is that everything will change over time, and the changes that we are doing now, it's just to comply with the needs that we are seeing from the last queue. So Chris, it's not only like if we want to do it or not, but it's like, yes, let's see what happens with builders category, so we can start planning the redistribution of budget for the next queue.
And no problem. Like you said, maybe this is not the scope to the right time to say this, so it's okay. I just like I mentioned, just if we can, just if we can try to increase, with time, the budget for in-world content. There's a lot of great projects need a lot of support, and without the support, they're dying out. They're dying off, and I just really hope we can support them. So yeah, maybe with time, like you said, that might be the right direction. I just hope that we can, think of ways on how to increase it, quickly if possible. But thank you so much, Yarosita.
Thanks to you for your questions. Anyone else wants to open their mic and discuss community builders category? If not, that would be it for us.
Yeah, thank you. I think Nikki has a really good point that this category seems like it'll be difficult to track and understand, what is when is something successful. So, I'm all for it, being an educator myself. However, I think that going forward, there needs to be a very uh, specific structure in place. And I know that's part of the reason why we're here today. But
Exactly.
I think it bears repeating, and I'm definitely down to work with with the team or whatever, and try to create at least a skeletal structure of going forward. But yeah, it's that's an important component of this, is like how do we determine success? I don't think it's impossible, but it's going to be difficult. So thank you, Nikki, for that.
Thank you, our job. Anyone else? Yes, Nikki, I read you when you say that this needs more than one meeting and that there is no reason to rush. This is only like the first step, which is creating a poll. And we wanted to have like your insights inside the poll. This will go over two more steps for governance. There is a lot of people that it's not here in this call, but that might have great insights, which we will discuss in the forum. And as we have done in the past, we are going to also take those insights on every single step of the way of the poll. Um, we have discussed already scope in this meeting regarding the cases that we have seen in the past, and you are invited to see the recording, Aaron. But we have cited cases, see what this category can fund, what would be the requirements, what would be the like potential impact metrics. But please see it, and if you have something to add or delete from that, your insights will be heard and appreciated. In world content and games, community builders. The thing with community builders being similar to in-world content is for people who generate, like create builds in world, and the difference with community builders is people that maybe are not building per se, or they are not creating per se, but that they are generating experiences, bringing community together, exploring the spaces, providing engagement. So yes, creating connective tissue. Exactly, our job. So it wouldn't be like building things like technically, but it's more like community gathering in world, understanding Decentraland. Um, yes, that is the difference. All right, friends. I think this is it. Thank you so much for joining. We really appreciate you all being here. And we'll see you then in the next town hall, I think. Awesome, Fizz. Thank you so much.